Welcome to 44 on 1 with G Vizzle and Tempest. Like and subscribe, and here we go.
Okay, so let everyone know they're being recorded. You're being recorded, bitch.
I don't want to do it then. I didn't sign up for that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen your ugly face in a long time because you have been recovering from some shit or lying to me.
Yeah,
which is why no one else has seen your face in a while.
Yeah. I'll just keep it short because, the reason why we haven't been recording much is just because I've got scoliosis apparently, and it's just basically sitting on a nerve. I'm talking about chest height, about the same height as my heart, and the nerve just keeps pressing on the joint. So I've been on painkillers and just doing exercises, and I just haven't had much energy for like fucking editing videos and pretending to be sociable on the internet.
Admittedly, you didn't have a lot of energy for that type of stuff before either.
No. And it's just really frustrating. So yeah, that's why we haven't recorded much. So it's my bad. So maybe if you had more friends though, then you could record with them instead, but you don't have any friends either.
I don't want to drive them down to this level.
Yeah.
I respect my friends too much. So I think we should start this week by sharing with each other something that we learned this week. I'll go first.
Okay.
I learned a new acronym. SOCK. S-O-C-K, SOCK. I am going to give you the context, and then you are going to tell me what you think it means.
Okay.
Drum roll, please. So, a man and a woman are on a first date. We'll call them Jack and Jill. In both of their dating profiles, they have indicated that they are purposefully child-free. During the course of their date, they get into a conversation about scenarios that they have experienced. Jill asked Jack, would you date a woman who already has children? And he says, no, I don't want to raise a sock.
Oh. I don't want to raise a sock. Okay. I have to cut out my pondering. Because there are things like disco, which is dual income. I can't remember what the rest of it is. Oh no, disco.
Dual income, no kids.
Yeah, dual income, several cat owners. That's what me and my partner are. Dual income, several cat owner, with discos, and then
There's guys. Jinx, double income, no kids. We have double income, 2 dogs. That doesn't really flow off the tongue.
Yeah.
But sock. I don't want to raise a sock. It may throw you off. The may throw you off because if you were to use the sentence in its entirety without the acronym, you would omit the So it would be, I don't want to raise a sock.
Oh.
Does that help? No, not at all.
I think it's like someone's. Yeah.
You're so close.
Yeah, I know.
Some other cunt's kid.
Oh, yes! Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Yeah.
Reddit was good for something this week.
Yeah. So is that because he's worried about getting, like the cuckoo thing where...
He just doesn't want to be responsible for some other man's child.
Yeah. So
I think it's an ego thing. Like I didn't make you, but you came out of somebody else's nut, which means you are a walking, talking symbol that this woman that I am dating, who did not have a pristine vagina when we met.
No, I think it's more than that. I think for some men it is that, but for me personally, I wouldn't want to be putting my time, energy, and resources into something that someone else created is probably a mistake between these 2 other people, and now I've got to pay the consequences.
Not necessarily. Just because they have a child doesn't mean it was a mistake. The relationship could have ended for a number of reasons. If she is a widow who has a child, that wasn't a mistake. Okay, so it could be they were together for a long time. I mean, you're not a spring chicken anymore, so it's not like you're going to be dating 20-year-olds.
No, I think I misunderstood the scenario. I was assuming that they got together. And then it turns out like that she's pregnant.
Oh no. There's already a child in play, and he doesn't want to raise some other cunt's kids.
I I would, depending on the relationship, I think it would be something that would have to grow. I'm not going to say straight away, like, yeah, I'll take responsibility for the child, because it's a very big thing to take responsibility, because then that means then that you'll give me permission to parent the child, which means you have to accept how I'm going to parent the kid. So,
And
unless
I would assume that anyone who has a child and is bringing someone else, male or female, into the life of that child would have those conversations. But you know what? You're right.
My mum never had that conversation.
I'm pretty sure I know someone who will remain nameless. It's not you, but someone who will remain nameless, whose mother started dating men who didn't want children and didn't care that they were not going to treat her child well.
Exactly. And
moms.
Yeah, man. There's I've seen some interesting stuff back when I was on TikTok before I froze it for a bit. But there were this guy kept getting shit from people because he was saying, like, no, he works in social services, and women need to be more open about leaving the men that aren't right to have around children. Like, these men are sex offenders. Doesn't matter how much you love them, you should not be having a relationship with those men. And those men need to accept that if they don't want to reoffend, they're probably going to have to be alone for the rest of their lives.
It's interesting. It's not interesting. It's horrifying how often I see on Reddit under those "Am I the asshole" or "I need advice" posts where there will be 15, 16-year-old girls who are saying, my mom's new boyfriend moved in with us. He keeps walking in on me. He keeps this, but my mom doesn't do anything about it. What do I do?
Yeah.
And their moms get so wrapped up in, I want to have a relationship, that they don't really care. And I'm sure dads do it too, but to a lesser extent, because there are fewer female child offenders or sex offenders. But they just get so wrapped up in me, my needs. It's my time now. I want to have a child. That they don't think about what's best for their kids.
Yeah,
People shouldn't be parents.
No, not at all. My mum's one of them. Like, she used to say things like, "Oh, well, you should accept that that's the person I've decided to be with." I mean, not granted, not all of them were sex offenders, but I'd be like, "Mum, you have a different boyfriend every 2 months. I'm not just going to accept every single Tom, Dick, and Harry you have walking through the house."
Sorry, I mean to like.
It's,
your mom's kind of icky,
gross,
but I wouldn't bring. If I had children, I wouldn't bring someone into their life unless I was sure that this person was going to be a stable influence in that kid's life. Because I will understand the breakup of relationships and the meeting new people, but a kid, depending on the age of the kid, they wouldn't.
Yeah. And then mum would be like, "Well, I expect if I bring them around, you have to talk to them and like make them feel welcome." I'd be like, "Why would I, when the man's not going to be in my life next week? Your last boyfriend dumped you because you wouldn't do anal with him. Why did you tell me that?"
Can we have your mom as a guest on the podcast?
Yeah.
Oh
my God. You should have seen it. Like, the only time that my partner ever met my mum. And then back then we hadn't been together for very long. We'd been together for a few months. And then I had to move all my stuff from down south. It was the last time I actually saw my mum as well. She helped me move my stuff up north, and she stayed the night. And then in the evening we're having dinner together, and we played Scrabble as well. So we spent a bit of time talking. And then, because I didn't know my partner as well as I do now, she was like, the way she was just looking at my mum, and I could tell that she was thinking something. And she said, she's like, "It's not that I didn't like her. It's not that I hated her straight away or anything." She said there was just nothing to grab onto. There was no personality. There was no human in there. She was like, it was just like interacting with a picture or something.
Interesting. Is your mom the type of woman who will change her personality based on who she's dating?
Yeah.
So when she's not dating anyone, she's just a blank slate.
Yeah.
Remember the show Dollhouse?
Yeah, exactly.
She's just waiting for a man to upload her personality.
Yeah, and also, like, she kind of goes off on what other people are like in the room. So she'll be responding to stimulus. But my partner's a very closed book because she had quite a difficult childhood with that. So she keeps her thoughts to herself. She has resting bitch face, but she's not necessarily thinking bitchy thoughts.
Oh man, I wish you had left the room for like an hour and just observed.
Yeah. Yeah, because there was nothing for like my mum to grab onto, because my partner was just like, "Oh, you ain't getting in here, bitch."
I would have gone to bed.
Yeah,
Like 7:30. I don't care. I'm going to bed.
yeah.
Oh, how awkward.
Yeah. It's so funny. And then that was the last time, like, because after that, we ended up having a few conversations about how difficult my childhood was. And then, yeah. And also, just so people know, I didn't move in with her straight away. It was just that I was just supposed to stay up there. And, like, I was staying with her for a few months while I got a job. But then by the time it came for me to move out and get my own place, we kind of had this awkward conversation. I was like, I kind of like living here. And she was like, I kind of like you being here. I don't really want you to move out. So.
And here you are, what, 9 years later?
Yeah, 10 years this year. Yeah.
10 years. Good for you.
Yeah, January. So.
Oh, happy belated anniversary.
Yeah. Oh, no, it'd be 10 years this coming January.
Oh.
Yeah.
Then it's not this year. You said this year.
In this 12-month span. I think so, anyway.
Oh, are you working on a rolling calendar?
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier what we were going to talk about today. You actually alluded to earlier that you have taken a TikTok break because of the comments that were coming through TikTok. So we were going to spend some time today talking about how people are cunts.
Yeah.
Comment cunts.
Yeah. Well, you had like that thing that you wanted to share with me. There's like a thing you're reading. I didn't read up about it because I wanted you to tell us.
What did I want?
There was a thing on that you'd seen that you're gonna to get our thing kick-started about people being cunts.
I forgot. I probably screenshotted it, and then now it would just mess everything up to go into the. Is it about trolling? I forgot. But anyway, we have both been disillusioned recently with TikTok and TikTok comments, not just TikTok, but other comments everywhere.
Yeah.
Because, and one of the videos that you had sent me was about that Project Watermelon.
Oh, yeah.
Which is kind of similar. I mean, although the comments that we dealt with, I don't think were some part of some grand conspiracy or grand plan, but it kind of falls in line with that, people just not having any sort of common sense.
Yeah. I think actually I can actually have that Project Watermelon video here, and I can show it to people quick.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, so they'll know what Project Watermelon actually is.
Actually.
Yeah, actually.
Ready for a new TikTok cyber warfare trend? It's TikTok cyberbullying attacks.
It's called Project Watermelon.
And it combines everything young people love: being petty, slacktivism, politics they don't understand, and Gaza.
So here's the basic plan. People like this will get assignments from accounts named Angie Marie.
Ready for the next Operation Watermelon assignment? It's Michaela Nagira, the biggest beauty influencers.
Once these people get their assignment, they go to that selected TikToker or Instagrammer and they bully them into talking about Gaza by posting things like, "Why aren't you talking about the genocide?"
And the person they're targeting does like hair and makeup.
So they have no clue what's going on, but some people can't handle it.
Elise Myers, the taco lady, just shut down her account after she was targeted. Now, I used Cyabra to evaluate some of the accounts and keywords, and it looks like most of the accounts are authentic.
This is cyberbullying as warfare.
It is warfare in the information domain.
So this could be another TikTok attack vector to be aware of. Hey, Project Watermelon, do me next. Do I look like I care about the comments?
So, yeah, there we go.
I wonder what the intent behind that was. Is it that, like, I've asked Elise and I've asked Michaela and they haven't answered to me? Let's all force them to answer. Like, what is the intent behind something like that?
I think it's all comes back under that activist mindset I keep banging on about. It's kind of relevant quite a lot. And for whatever reason, these people have like this cause that they want to spread. They have the kind of narcissistic personality where they think they have to do it, and they want to garner an online fan base, which presumably is giving them money of some kind. So the whole thing feeds itself. They've got like this narcissistic activist loop thing going on, and then they feel all powerful. They feel like gatekeepers who get to direct a horde of people who don't know enough about the issue to know that what they're doing should be done or not.
So they've done something without actually doing something so they can feel good about themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Like yesterday I went to the liquor store and they asked if I wanted to donate to this tree planting thing. And when I said yes, they gave me a little pin. So I'm going to wear that pin around and be like, look at me.
Yeah.
Look at me.
People are going to be like, what's that pin about?
Yeah, I didn't actually physically plant any trees. I just bought a bottle of gin, and look what I did. Saving the world, one bottle of gin at a time.
Exactly. And
I think that's the same thing that comes up in the comments that we see. I mean, maybe we're not being brigaded like this.
No.
Project Watermelon, but there are people who pop up in the comments with some of the most asinine takes on things because they heard a hot keyword and then it triggered something else in them, and they're like, oh, like I made that video about kinks. This couple in the store was engaging in a kink, and when I first saw it, I didn't realize it was a kink. So it was afterwards where people in the comments were back and forth between, she was unsafe, you should have done something, like I should have extricated her from the produce department because of an 8-second interaction, or it was a kink. So I reflected, body language, definitely a kink. So I commented on it saying, like, I don't want to see, like, I'm all for people having kinks, but I don't want to see it at 9 o'clock in the morning in a grocery store.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then 2 comments that came back. Most people were like, yeah, you didn't consent to that. Others were, well, that's what, keep it at home is what they used to say to LGBTQIA plus people.
Oh.
Like, yeah, but I didn't say that to them. Like, that's not even a little bit relevant to this conversation, was one. And the other was that I was kink shaming. And it was like, I can simultaneously support someone and encourage someone to have kinks without wanting to participate in it.
Exactly.
Like, everyone poops. That doesn't mean I want to see everyone's poop. And I'm not
exactly.
poop shaming. The people got really like, I'm unfollowing you because you're kink shaming. I'm like, I didn't kink shame. And it seems like, I wonder, had the kink not been so benign, if people would have had the same perspective. Like if my video was like, oh my God, I was like outside taking out my trash and my 70-year-old neighbor was out wearing a diaper. If they would have been like, oh no, let him be. That's not. Or, oh, my neighbor came up to me the other day and said, hey, when you take Zool for a walk, can you grab me and Bill? And Bill's her husband that she likes to walk on a leash. Like it's a totally other world when it's just something like, mother, may I? But just to be accused of kink shaming, to say that I didn't consent to being a part of this kink, and kinks are primarily for sexual gratification. So if they're doing it in a place, if they're doing it in a place where they know people can hear, that's part of their kink. And for a group of activists who are simultaneously, I wonder how they would have thought about this, that I didn't consent to being a part of that kink. So are they still going to call me a kink shamer because it was against my consent?
Yeah. Like they can't have. They can have 2 opposing ideas active in their mind at the same time. And then they'll be like, right, we have to protect women and women's rights, but then also you should be forced to observe a kink in action, because a kink is sexual gratification. All kinks are. There's nothing not sexual about them.
That's what floored me about the comparison to LGBTQ, because that's not like if someone saw my video and thought about kinks and then immediately started to think about LGBTQIA plus that community, it speaks more to them, and that they are reducing that community to their sex lives, because they're LG, like being queer, pan, whatever, is not a kink. It's who you are. It's your life. Like you.
Exactly.
It just floored me to the point where I was so. I don't know what kind of mood I was in that day, but I was getting like angry at it. And I'm like, before I start making response videos to be like, fuck you, I was like, I'm just going to private the video and take a step back, because it was just absurd. It was like when I made a video saying the fat lady at work, I called fat shaming. It's like, I said absolutely nothing negative other than she was a fat lady, which is a descriptor. It would have been blonde, tall, short. It's a descriptor. But people who got really bent out of shape about that word is because they have a negative connotation of it, where for me, it's neutral. Words are neutral. They take on the life that you give them, but
it is how you say it as well. If you're like, oh, fucking fat bitch at work, like that is bad.
Exactly. Versus just, my mom came home and said the fat lady at work. She didn't mean it negatively. She loves that woman.
Exactly.
I think they're still in touch 30 years later.
Yeah, exactly. It's in how you deliver it. And I feel that there's a lot of people that when they get that activist mind, like they forget about things like tone and context, and how different words mean different things in different contexts. You know?
That's it 1,000%, because they just hear one word and then they stop listening to the rest of the video. They stop listening to the context of the video, and they just focus in on that one word, which was not the point. And it's not even on the activist mindset. It's also the well, actually's people.
Yeah,
because when I made this joking video about how February 29th should be a holiday because the universe is giving us a gift, people were like, that's not what leap days are. It's like, oh, Christ, that's not the fucking point.
Have some whimsy in your life.
That's not the point of the video, but they just get so hung up.
Yeah.
It reminds me of this woman who had said when she wants to get an answer to a problem, she will post a question in a forum as one account, and then as another account she'll respond with the wrong information, because people don't want to help by answering a question, but they fucking love correcting someone when they're wrong. So that's how she gets the right answers to things, and it's so true. It is so true.
Oh man. Oh, but having to game the system like that, though, that's soul destroying.
It is, but it's a pretty clever workaround.
Yeah, you can bootstrap a weird solution like that. Man, I've got just talk about context and everything. I've got a student that I'm working with on a dissertation, and she's doing an analysis of different media articles that is looking at how different male and female sex offenders get spoken about in different newspapers. And so far, it's looking that like all the women have like pointless information you say about them that tells you what job they do, what their families are like, and they were romping with the student and all that stuff, and positive connotation. And the men are always just evil, vile rapists and criminal deviants.
I see the same thing as the articles that like, oh, teacher found having sex with 14-year-old student versus then you know it's a woman. Even if they don't show a picture or the name, you know it's a woman, versus teacher rapes student, you know that's a man.
Yeah, exactly. And also there's this would be out the scope of this project, but maybe in a future one, there also seems to be a variable of how attractive and young the female teacher is.
You will definitely see, and I've seen it in the comparison between the two, that even if it's a good-looking male teacher, there may be a couple of women who pop in to be like, oh, I wish I had a teacher like that. But those are very, very few, and they get shut down very, very quickly by the other women in the comment section. Whereas when it comes to men, a lot of men would be like, what's that guy complaining about? I would kill it. Like other guys jump on board with that, which makes it difficult for men to further their push for having those two crimes seen in the same light, because they are then making light of the victim, telling the victim he should be thankful because he had a hot teacher. Like it's a very different approach. So when then men, like that men's rights subreddit, they get very upset that female offenders aren't treated the same way. It's like, well, yeah, because
the guys are ruining it.
Like a third of your gender is rooting on the teacher and wishing they had a teacher that looked like that.
Yeah. The thing that's hard to get across as well is that it doesn't matter if the boy wanted it. It's the fact that he is beholden to his evolution and his puberty. And just because he wants that to take place, it doesn't mean it should happen. The teacher has to be like, well, no, I'm the adult. He's a child.
Absolutely.
I shouldn't take advantage of it.
And there's also the definition. Like the definition of rape precludes and says in many cases women can't rape men. So then it becomes, even the legal language is sexual assault, which doesn't sound as
well. We've actually had a case, I think in the last year or two, and it's hardly been spoken about, but the judge, for like the first time I've ever read about, interpreted it differently. He said that the law states it's the forced entry of a penis into any orifice, but he just decided, well, what the woman did is basically rape. He gave her a really light sentence, but she forced the entry of the penis into her.
So that's right. Like they need to reevaluate that definition, because then it doesn't seem as though the crime is as serious when women commit it, even though it is just as serious. Yeah, and probably, I mean, the psychological damage on both sides would be significant, but then you would also have, like, when women accuse men or other women of rape, there's always the victim shaming and the questioning, did you lead them on? Yeah. So they start to doubt themselves. But with men, there would also be that extra level of mockery.
Yeah.
Like when Lionel Richie came out and said that his wife was abusing him, everyone was like, pussy, like you could take her, but he chose the non-violent path to a violent situation. So there's so much at stake in both sides, and I think there needs to be a reckoning.
Well, because when people say like, oh, you could have stopped her, and it's like, yeah, but we're simultaneously told by society that there is no reason ever to hit a woman, no reason at all, and it's like, well, there are reasons. You don't do it because you're strong and you're powerful. You should find the peaceful route.
But there is also that domestic violence is usually not just physical. There is that emotional, mental, all that other component into it, which is why a lot of people don't leave. It's not just because they're afraid of the physical retribution. It's because their self-esteem, their confidence has been whittled down. Perhaps they have been isolated from their friends. That there's so much more at play than just the physical part of it. Yeah. I find it interesting that my mum never really tried to hit me that much. She hit me a couple of times, but not. You deserved it. Yeah. No, one of the times was because I threw a glass down the stairs at the front door. It's because, I'll tell you why though. It's because she was basically doing all of her emotional, psychological abuse the whole day. Then she called my dad, my stepdad, and said I was acting up and spun him a whole yarn and gaslighted me into thinking that I'd caused the whole thing to happen when I hadn't. And then so he put my stepdad on the phone. He's shouting at me down the phone. I'm like, I didn't do anything. None of that happened. And I just got frustrated. I went, fuck's sake. God, I was like, I was 15. And then she ran up the stairs with like cheese sauce in her hand for some reason. And he just started trying to pummel me while I'm on my phone to my stepdad. With cheese sauce?
I'm surprised she didn't try and hit me with the saucepan, but yeah. Oh.
My mom has a wooden spoon that she has had since it's probably older than I am. And like wooden spoons usually have, a big spoon part. This one it's almost a straight line. Like it's like this. And I pick it up every time occasionally I'll go over there and I'll make a comment about it. I'm like, Mom, you need to, the spoon doesn't spoon anymore. Like it's like, you need to buy a new spoon. And she'll look at it lovingly and she'll go, that spoon's hit a lot of bums. Wooden spoons and slippers is what we got.
Well, so like when other people's families do that, when they whack a child, like do they do it like as hard as they can, or do they do it just to make it smart a bit, or do they just tap it? What do they do?
I think it depends on where it's coming from, because I've experienced both, where it was just kind of a smarting level setting. Kind of when a dog is acting up, you kind of what Cesar Millan calls bite the dog. So you kind of poke them with your fingers in their rib cage, because not to hurt them, but just kind of jar them out of what they're doing. So I've had that, but I've also had like the ass whooping. So I think it depends on the motivation and how the anger level of the hitter.
Well, my shitty uncle, like he used to really go to town on my cousin. And I remember one time he just sort of grabbed him by his hand and he whacked him so hard that my cousin took off.
Oh,
and he was holding onto his hand, and he basically flew up 90 degrees. So like his feet were up level with his hand. Yeah.
My mom my mom retired when my niece was born to take care of my niece after school, like take her to and from school. And she also took care of another little girl who was the exact same age as my niece, but always like 2 inches taller. She was a bruiser. Like she was 2 inches taller. She was a stockier kid, just a bigger kid. So my niece did something and my mom spanked her on the bum through the diaper, but like you could barely even feel it. And then my niece hit my mom back. So my mom smacked her on the bum again, a touch harder. Like again, my mom's a pro. She knows how to not make it hurt. Like you could feel it, but it doesn't hurt. So then my niece hits my mom again. So then my mom did it a little bit harder this time. This time my niece felt it because she ran into the living room and she told the other little girl, go get her. And then that idiot comes into the kitchen and my mom is like, really?
Oh, brilliant.
Kids.
It's funny what kids do when they're faced with something that they haven't seen or don't understand. They haven't seen it before. Oh man.
I think that's why there's the phenomenon of when they turn 5, where everything you say to them is responded to with why.
Yes.
Like they're just trying to grasp it. They're trying to understand. Says why?
Yeah.
Because I said so.
Just fucking do it. And yeah, so I thought we'd take a bit of a segue before we get too dark and depressing.
Yeah, that took a turn.
Yeah. I mean, I don't go flying very often, thank God. But I just saw this thing the other day, and I was like, no way that worked. Okay, this is.
The dramatic security camera footage showing a Texas man before authorities say he boarded a Delta flight from Salt Lake City heading to Austin, Texas without a ticket. Watch as the man authorities identified as Wyclef Florizard appears to take a photo with his phone of another passenger's ticket last Sunday. A felony complaint said he took photos of multiple passenger phones while they were not looking. According to the complaint, then using his phone as a boarding pass to board. Florizard was apparently on standby for a Southwest flight that was completely full. That's when officials say he then tried to get aboard a Delta flight. Once aboard the Delta flight, according to the affidavit, he opens the emergency equipment storage door. A flight attendant then assists him to a bathroom toward the front of the plane while others board. Before the doors close, Florizard moves to the bathroom in the back. As he leaves it, an attendant sees no open seats and tries helping as the plane starts to taxi. Then she realizes he is not a passenger.
Didn't the other passenger, wouldn't they have gotten on the plane and be like, oh, you're in my seat? No, this is my seat. Let me see your ticket. Like, how did that happen?
Well, I think he wasn't trying to sit in the seat. So he was trying to find a way of getting on a flight and then getting access to it and then managing to get off and get given a free seat on a different flight and stuff like that. And it seems like he's done it before and it's worked.
Clever.
Yeah. And like there's so many I'll show you another video here, right? Just because there's these new things that have been coming out just in all these scams and like con artists like that guy, where like we're in a brave new world now, and like we really need to think twice before we buy any new technology. I'm turning into a Luddite.
Well, there was a guy who made a video on TikTok recently and about this scam where these 2 women came running up to his car, and she was like, you stole my phone. You have my phone in your car. And she was trying to get him to roll his window down, presumably to gain access. And he was like, no. And he even said, he's like, anytime someone asks me to roll my window down, regardless of who it is, I will roll it down, 2 inches, enough that I can hear them, but not enough that they can get in. But she kept saying, I did find my iPhone. My iPhone's in your car. He was like, that's impossible. It would give you the general area, but not the specifics. So he knew it was a scam. But he was warning other people because they were believable. Like it was 2 women, one with them hysterics, like, I lost my phone, you stole my phone. And so he could have easily bought into it, especially with, if someone's banging on your window and you would, I could see how you would be flustered enough into like, oh, let me roll down my window and see what's going on here. And then you're fucked. Yeah,
exactly. It's, con artists are very good at what they do. That's why you should just listen to the voice at the back of your head all the time.
If they put as much effort into making money legitimately as they do is trying to game the system, there would be no stopping.
If they put it into a legitimate career, all that focus, because it's hard.
For good instead of evil.
Yeah, con artistry is hard.
Right? Yeah. And the success rate has got to be pretty low. So you've got to, although I wonder if you're a good con artist, I would suspect every failure you would reflect what went well, what didn't go so well, what could I do differently next time? Until you really made it an art.
So the thing is, right, after watching this, you'll never want to get a Ring doorbell. Ever.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I'm never getting one, but I wasn't before this, and I'm definitely not now.
I'll give you a really good example. It's always kind of a funny thing. People will go up to Ring doors. They'll like press the Ring door and someone will be like, oh, hey, hello. And that person's like, oh, hey, I'm trying to do this thing right now. Like I'm trying to sell like cookies or whatever, right? I'm trying to sell this product. And they go, oh, well, I'm not home right now. And they go, okay, no problem. And then the secondary part of that team goes in and breaks into the back door because they now know you're not home. So they can even be used for social engineering routes as well. I hate this shit. I hate all of this shit. The social engineering route for that is so bothersome to me. Because I've seen it time and again where people are like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to tell them I'm not home. Don't do that shit.
It's like when on voicemails, I remember when people started getting answering machines a long time ago, there was this I don't know if it was on the news or just there was this widespread, when you're leaving your outgoing message, don't say we're not home right now.
Yeah.
Because then you say I'm not available right now. And I could see that being the case. It's like when my husband and I, when we go camping, I'll record a bunch of TikToks while we're camping, but I'll post them after we get home. So if someone has magically figured out where I live and they show up at the door, they're going to be greeted with 160 pounds of angry dog.
Yeah, exactly.
200 pounds of angry husband.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing is, this is why I'm so careful with this stuff, just because you don't know what routes you're opening up into your life.
My mother-in-law's house was broken into, and it was 2 kids, maybe 15, 16 with backpacks. It was after school, and they were going door to door in this neighborhood, knocking on the door. And if someone answered the door, they would ask, "Oh, is Billy home?" "Oh, no, sorry, wrong house." And then they would do this show of like, "Oh, really? Oh, sorry to bother you." And if no one answered the door, then they would know no one was home, and they would go around the back. And that's how they got into my mother-in-law's house. They snuck in the back, got in through a window, grabbed whatever they could fit into their backpack, and then moved on to the next house. We see it in our neighborhood with cars. Kids will just walk around trying every car to see if it's locked. They just leave it alone. If it's not locked, they rifle through it, grab what they can, and then move on to the next car.
God.
Car thefts in Ontario, probably all of Canada, but there's one town that's like 20 minutes away from us that 900 cars were stolen in January.
Yeah, I've heard about this, right? For some reason, I think it's maybe just because I speak to a Canadian, and then so there's lots of stuff being said about Canada that my phone picks up. But I heard that in Toronto, car theft has gone up 300% in the last 4 years.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And now car thieves they're actually telling you on the news, leave your car keys by your front door, because car thieves are like busting into people's houses and then at gunpoint demanding your car keys. So if you are flustered with like, where are my keys, you're risking having them in your house for longer. So they're like, just leave your keys at the front door, and if they break in, just hand them over your keys.
Bloody hell.
I know. But that takes it to a different level of crime. Like car theft is one thing, but now it's breaking and entering. It's a deadly, like a weapon, whatever that is. So you're taking what was probably a misdemeanor and turning it into a felony. I don't know if that's right. I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, though. I'm not a police officer. But and my husband and I are so guilty of leaving our doors unlocked. Like if in the morning he'll go out because he smokes pipe, he'll go out for a pipe, he'll come in and leave the door unlocked throughout the day. I'll leave to walk the dogs. If he's home, the door's unlocked. If one of us is home, the door's usually unlocked. And now we're like, we should probably start locking that door.
Yeah. I forgot.
Like, yes, we have 2 big dogs, but if that guy comes in with a gun, we have no big dogs. And
Yeah. But also, they're less likely, like, if they hear or see a dog, they probably just won't even approach the house. Because they're risk averse.
After my mother-in-law's house got broken into, because my husband was the secondary contact on her alarm. So he went and spoke with the police, and the cops had asked him about security systems, and he said, "Oh, well, this is before we had the second dog, but we had a dog." And the cop was like, that's usually even better, because that's more of a deterrent.
Yeah.
And our whole neighborhood, like, to the right of us is a dog. We've got 2 dogs. To the left of us is a dog. Across the street is a dog. You can't walk past this neighborhood at any time of day and not be marked at. So I think that would be a deterrent.
Yeah, I think so. Like, because they tend to want to look for easy targets. I mean, if you got like some fool with a Ring doorbell saying, "I'm not home," and then that's what you're looking for. That's your holy grail.
And we've heard tips as well. So we used to have a lot of shrubbery in front of our house, which would block the window. Which, I mean, luckily they died. Not luckily for them, but lucky for us. So those have gone. So it's cleared the view for us, which has made it more open. But I mean, fortunately, we live statistically in a really safe town, but the towns around us are getting less safe,
getting molested.
Which is not hopeful for us eventually.
Yeah, well, if Polyev gets in, hopefully he'll be a bit more tough on crime and actually do something about it.
We'll see. All politicians are all talk.
Yeah.
He does speak well, though.
Yeah. That's the thing, is like, our politics is so open at the moment. It's just open season over here now. All we need is one good-looking man that can, like, destroy the others in speech, like Polyev, like if we had a version of Polyev, he would absolutely get a landslide in the next election. Well, our politicians really have a charisma deficit going on.
Ours are very charismatic. What I like about our politicians is that they're also, they still have skin in the game because they're young. It's like John Mulaney says, you don't order for the table if you're leaving the restaurant. And the US, the last couple of presidents have been a little long in the tooth.
Yeah.
But somebody who is of that age, you know, that like late Gen X, early boomer even, I guess they have to, can't think of a better cliche, although it's a terrible cliche. They have their finger on the pulse of what's actually happening and what's relevant to people their age and younger because they experience it. They're of that age or they have children who are experiencing those things. Whereas someone who's 80, the fuck, man?
Yeah. He's just probably going to die in office. Like our guys, though, I don't think they even have that. They're corrupt. They don't really care about. They don't even know what issues to fight over. We had a clip the other day. Our current prime minister, fucking Rishi Sunak. He's the shortest guy you've ever seen. Every country that sends ambassadors over sends their biggest ambassador they can find. It is so fucking funny. And
to step up on a stool.
Yeah. And the other day, he was walking down the street with two guys either side, one guy either side of him, and then they're like 6 foot, and he's like 5'6" or something. And then, and we had a video the other day of like you can just tell he has no just no experience with the common man. Has no idea how tools work. So literally never picked up a hammer in his life, and so he was doing some of that outreach work they do. They go somewhere and fuck about. And he was hammering this object, but you know how to use a hammer, right? You use the head of the hammer. No, he was using the side of it. The side. Yeah. He was using the side of the hammer.
The person who is in power representing the common and average person should have that experience. They should know a little bit about what those common people are dealing with because then it becomes really easy to dismiss a lot of the issues that they're facing.
Yeah.
It's like when they asked, I think they asked some like rich people about the price of bananas, and they were like, I don't know, $70. Like, are you what? Like, how are you that out of touch? So you can't be out of touch with the people who you expect to vote for you.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm really not looking forward to any of our elections coming up. I mean, like the two of the big ones, I think, is the States and Britain. I think they're the biggest shit shows that are going to happen because nobody wants either of the parties that we've got. And then there's this kind of quite right-wing splinter party called Reform UK that they're pretending to care about the working class issues and stuff, but actually they're just a bunch of corrupt racists. Yeah, and they're not even hiding it very well mostly. But
oh my god,
they had a guy. He got. He had to resign, I think, for being an MP. He was quite a senior minister. And he was on a dating website and sent compromising photos of himself to like some spy or something. And they bribed him. And then he handed over loads of photos, data. And then
people forget that politicians are just people too. And they make mistakes. And they also are very in it for themselves. It's a job, right? It's not a vocation. It's not anything else. It's a job. They're trying to get paid at the end of the day and be self-serving and make sure that at the end of it, they could still be gainfully employed or still make the salary at the end of it.
And I think we need to reform all of that. Not like how Reform UK want to do it, but like we need to fucking change this stuff because like they've just extracted so much wealth out of our country, out of our people. And our country is literally like, it's on a knife edge of falling apart right now.
But think of the job of a politician. Like, there's no qualifications.
Yeah.
If I were to hire a trainer, I want to make sure they have training experience. But if we hire leaders of countries, they don't have to know shit about shit. They just need to have money to run a good campaign or a good smear campaign against their competitors.
Well, in our country, we used to pride ourselves on having some regular people as MPs. But what's happened over time is that we've got far too many politicians. I think I can't remember what the percentage is, but there's far too many of them who were educated in private schools. Then they went to like the top universities at Oxford, Cambridge and Durham. And then they did PPE, which is politics, something in economics. I can't remember what it's called now. Fuck. But it's like they all did this piece of shit degree, which is supposed to do what you just said, which is supposed to tell them how things work, and then they can run the country. But they have no life experience.
But also knowing how something works doesn't mean you can do it. Like I have I have the basic knowledge of how my car works, but I'm not a mechanic. Like I got a basic understanding of it, but there's no practical application that they've not been. Oh, it's frustrating.
Like the Tories had this guy. He was Saeed Javid, and then he was the chancellor, and he was a good chancellor in the sense that he was an economist. He knew how to do economics. So even though I disagreed with the principles of the government, he actually was able to do what they're asking him to do. Then later on, he ended up being the fucking health minister. He doesn't know how healthcare works. He was useless.
I forget what it's called, but there was this type of government, Canada and I think the US and then maybe Canada piggybacked off of it, tried out in the 1930s, where they would have a group leading the government, where it was like a financial expert ran the economy, a health expert ran the health programs, an education expert ran the education programs. Like it would be in a company. If you were running a company, you've got an IT expert as the head of IT, a marketing expert as the head of marketing. But with government, it's just kind of this one person who may know a few things and then brings in their friends who probably don't know the things that they're leading.
Well, in our political system, like there's nothing to stop us doing that, of like getting some of the best educators to run education and getting somebody that's done a career in healthcare. But the problem is that to get to where they are, to be the prime minister or the head of the party, they've made all of these deals with all these idiots as they've gone up. Like, now I have to give you the health minister post, even though I know you're shit at it. Yeah. But then on the other side of it, we've got the thing, the Americans call it the deep state. We call it the civil service. So the civil servants run the country mainly, like they do what the government wants. Like when I was a healthcare analyst at NHS England, I was a civil servant. So I could generate the data that the government could then use to make their policy decisions. But the problem is that the ministers don't listen to the civil servants. We've had a show about it called Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister, where like the civil servants, it was like a sitcom. And then the civil servants are trying to tell the minister, like, well, if you do X, Y, or Z, these things are going to happen. So we think you should do this. And then usually the minister would either fuck up or do what he was told to do. But nowadays, they don't listen to the civil servants. And that's why our country's going down the toilet.
And that's a big problem that happens in even most companies.
Yeah.
You're not listening to the people who have their boots on the ground and are doing the work, who know what's affecting them and how they're being affected, and have potentially some really creative solutions to it, because they don't have this weird political agenda fucking them up.
Yeah. Like,
so I've been watching CSI Toronto, the new one.
Oh yeah.
It's awful. It's not great. It's not great. But I keep watching because I met a bunch of people at the cocktail party that were extras in the episodes. So I'm watching just so I could be like, oh, another person. Or I shared a lemon donut with that person. But they actually did an episode with the Rob Ford crack smoking mayor.
Amazing. Was he actually in it?
It was pretty awesome.
But was it actually him in it?
No, he's dead.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he passed away a few years ago.
Oh, that's
but no, he didn't act in it. But it was the mayor of Toronto got caught smoking crack and caught up in this conspiracy. And they make every episode mostly too complicated. Like there's 3 different storylines going on. They've gotten fussy. But that one, as it started, I was like, I feel like I know where this is gonna take us.
Yeah. He was actually quite good. I'm quite, like when I read up about that guy, I thought actually he was quite a good mayor.
He was a good mayor, in spite of being, I mean, imagine what he could have done if he wasn't a crackhead, but he was a good mayor. He very much listened. I mean, I don't live in Toronto, but he very much listened to the people of Toronto and was a people's mayor. He did what they wanted him to do, which is probably how his brother got elected for mayor.
Is it his brother that's campaigning at the moment? I've seen a few videos of him. Yeah, because Tom Segura actually did a bit. He did like a 15-minute short movie called The People's Mayor, and then he plays Rob Ford.
That's awesome.
It's fucking amazing. It's so good.
That's awesome. It was
Yeah.
funny. It was funny to see something so local on the world stage because he was going on American like late night talk shows.
Oh wow.
afterwards. It was like, oh, of all the things people know Canada for, can't
So
be maple syrup and hockey. It's got to be this.
yeah. Is his brother any good, or is he?
Mm, he's had some ups and downs. There have been ups and downs, which I'm sure is the fact of any political career.
Yeah. But
I
any
think
of them?
Canadians are more political now than ever. For the first time in my life, I'm seeing people wear their politics. That there's fuck Trudeau hats, and this couple up the street has a fuck Trudeau flag, which they got sun bleached and they replaced with a brand new shiny fuck Trudeau flag. But I've never seen that before in my life. I've never seen anything politically branded that people would just wear on their cars or put outside their houses before.
I wondered if the Canadians are quite like the Brits in that sense, that it takes a lot to get us to activate and to start getting upset. And the last 8 years have been tough.
They have, but I also think they're, because American politics are force fed to everybody. I think as I found people in Canada got more politically minded when Trump entered office, because they were more invested in American politics, because now this game show host and and failed hotel tycoon is running an entire country. So I think people got invested more in politics, and then maybe they started paying attention to more at home.
Yeah, because he kind of brought the consequences home to a lot of us. I think that if we get, like, if we elect people who aren't suitable to be a politician or to be a diplomat or a statesman, then maybe we need to think a bit harder and be more considerate about who we put into office. I mean, if we look at like the triple-headed hydra, I think, of Trump, Trudeau, and Boris Johnson, like
triple-headed hydra.
Yeah, like I think, in my opinion, because they're all very different politically, ideologically, they're very different. But between them, they've just utterly just decimated our economy and just way of life.
I think Trudeau spent a lot of he tried to ride on his dad's coattails. The name more than the qualification is what got him into where he's at.
Yeah. And what was the deal with the passports? Did he do something with those? I don't know. I can't remember. I just remember something like somebody was waffling on about passports and how like he changed them, because we had a thing about passports here too.
Oh, I think they changed the color of the passport or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I know they changed the color of our passports because people wanted it to go blue again, because it'd been burgundy from what I remember my whole life, and now we've gone back to blue, and everyone's like, "Yay, take Britain back, get our sovereignty."
Everything's political.
Yeah, it's so fucking weird.
I don't even know what color my passport is, I don't travel enough to really have an opinion about the color of my passport.
Yeah. We have a weird thing at the moment with immigration, in the sense that we have a lot of boats coming across the channel. So these people coming across from sort of North Africa and like the Middle East, like from Syria, and then they're making it across Europe, and they get to France, and then they get smugglers to take them across the channel. And then everyone's saying, stop the boats. It's become like this whole crazy thing. But then our own government are going, yeah, stop the boats. And it's like, hang on, you're in charge. Yeah, that's your job. You know?
Like, oh, me?
Yeah. So like there's a bunch of stuff, like there's another thing where the police are being told to police on identity politics stuff. And they're telling, like they're being told to chase up like those like non-crime incidents. Yeah. And then they're wasting a lot of time doing those. But then our government is saying that the police are wasting time doing that. I'm like, but you're in charge.
You're telling them to do it.
Yeah, you're in charge of the police. And then so they've got this weird, to rile up their own base and get them angry and to vote for them, they seem to be creating all these weird little problems and then blaming.
Because then they can say they're going to be the ones who fix it.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Politics.
Yeah, I think we should fade black now.